Casey, and I don't know what I'm doing. Did your world go crazy last night? Because mine did, and I don't know what to do, so I'm going to talk to you about books that I'm hoping to get around to reading in March, or at least the ones I'm going to be pulling from in March to read. I'm going to start off by talking about books that I'm reading for various book clubs. The first one is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This one we're reading for the book club that my husband and I do with his parents. If you're new here, which you probably are, I go into books pretty blind. I usually know very little about the plot before I get into it. And this one's no different. About 95% positive that this one deals with war, with the tragedy of war, with all of the costs and dear prices that, the people have to pay. I'm pretty sure that the Poppy War also has a very strong historical influence. This one has very strong Chinese influences. I'm not sure if it is primarily inspired by historical events or mythological ones, but I'm very much looking forward to reading this one. This was one of my husband's picks for our book club, and I can't wait to get to it. The next book that I'm going to be reading for a book club is Buzz by Mary Roach. This one I have book club in quotation marks because this is just my husband and I reading this. We call this the Nate and Casey book club, and it's where we pick a book and he listens to the audiobook and I read the physical book. Mary Roach is an author that both my husband and I love. He introduced me to her, and she has such fun and interesting books, and she does a very thorough inspection of whatever subject matter she picks. This one is about when nature breaks the law. I'm pretty sure there's a jaywalking moose, a bear that gets caught breaking and entering, and a murderous tree. These are the ones in the taglines you'll see anywhere for this book, and I can't wait to get around to this one. It should be a welcome break from some very serious things happening. The next pile of books that I have are the books I'm going to be pulling from for the Buzzword Reading Challenge. The prompt for March is locations, and so the first one I have is Haunting Bombay by Shilpa Agarwal. This one I'm pretty sure is a haunted house story, which I probably should just, commit to memory because of the title, but I haven't yet. Again, I'm going into this one pretty blind. Doing a quick look at the synopsis on the inside cover here. It is in fact a ghost story. I'm very excited about that. I've really been missing a good ghost story in my life for quite some time now, and here's hoping that this fills the void there. If I get around to it this month, which I'm really hopeful I will because it's got such a pretty cover and I would love to add it to my bookshelves. The next one in the pile for the Buzzword Reading Challenge is The Ocean at the End of the Lane by Neil Gaiman. I really enjoy Neil Gaiman's work. I've read quite a bit of his fiction, and I picked this one up I picked this one up at our local used bookstore recently, like 6 months ago, and I haven't gotten around to it. I keep shortlisting it every month for some reason or another, and hopefully I'll get around to it this time, but if history repeats itself, then no, I'm not going to get around to this one, and it's just going to sit on my desk for a really long time. The next one I have is Congo by Michael Crichton. This is another author, much like Neil Gaiman, who I've really enjoyed almost everything I've ever read from him. Excluding one book last year, but that one was published posthumously, and I think you could really tell. I don't know if this one's more like a thriller or more science fiction. I'm not sure where on Crichton's spectrum of writing it falls, but we'll see if I can get around to it this month and find out. The last one I have for the Buzzword Reading Challenge pile is The City of Illusions by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is another author that I've read a couple of things from, and I enjoyed both of the books I've already read from her. This one is more fantasy than science fiction, and science fiction is primarily what I've read from her so far. This one's really short, so this is probably a big contender for the one I'm going to really prioritize quite a bit, but hopefully I can tell you more about this one at the end of next month. The next pile I have is books I've pulled aside to attempt to complete some of the Books in the Freezer Reading Challenge for 2022. This is a reading challenge that I wasn't familiar with until late last year. I don't remember. I found Books in the Freezer on TikTok. I will link them down below because they're absolutely wonderful. I don't listen to podcasts much. I'm sure their podcast is wonderful, but I do very much enjoy their TikTok content. I was very happy to include another fun reading challenge into my reading goals this year. I don't often participate in reading challenges or or readathons or anything like that, but it was something I wanted to get more into this year, and this definitely seemed like one that I could do easily and would also push me a bit, which I was very excited about and very much looking forward to. And the first one I have is In the Trees Crept In by Dawn Kurtagich. Kurtagich? Kurtagich? I think it's Kurtagich. This one I pulled out of my shelves to do the prompt for reading a YA horror. I don't read a lot of YA horror. It usually doesn't tickle my fancy too terribly much. It's just doesn't quite do it for me. It's not scary enough, but I am always looking to branch out more and find YA horror that does do it for me. I'm very excited for this one. This was also a book that I found from Books and Lala. She has a video of weird book recommendations, and she and I have very similar weird reading tastes, and so I promptly put all of those books on my Goodreads want to read list, and I'm really excited to get around to this one. The next pile I have is for the prompt of reading a book with a green or yellow cover, and the first one that I'm going to talk about is Boy Snow Bird by Helen Oyeyemi. This has such a beautiful cover. I love this cover so much. This absolutely just makes me think of spring and growth, and I'm just really excited to get around to this one. Again, I'm not very familiar with what this one is. This was the first Helen Oyeyemi that was ever kind of pushed to me by Goodreads. It's not the first of hers that I've read. I read White is for Witching last year, and I absolutely adored that one. I thought it was really intriguing and engaging, and so I'm really excited to pick up another of hers this month. This is one I'll probably prioritize over some of the others because I would love to get this just beautiful copy onto my shelves. The next book I have in this pile is Washington Black by Essie Adujan. I am, again, really looking forward to this one. That's a real common theme. This is one I've had on my shelves for about a year now. I know this deals heavily with racism and slavery, and I can't remember if this one's like a little bit magical realism or a little bit of fabulism or anything like that, or if it's only dealing in real world concepts and ideas. And I'm really anticipating getting around to this one. This is another one I'll probably heavily prioritize, not for any particular reason other than I really want to read this one, and I really want to start reading this author's work because I've heard just incredible things about them. The last one I have for the prompt of a book with a green or a yellow cover is actually a reread for me if I get around to it, and that's Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. I've read the entirety of the Southern Reach trilogy. I really enjoy the first two. Annihilation and Authority are absolutely my favorites out of the series. The biggest reason I want to reread Annihilation is, number one, it's really short. I could knock this out in a day and a half maximum. But also because I really want to reread Authority, and hopefully I'll get around to it this month, and if I don't, that's okay. I'll do it next month. The next book that I'm going to talk about is also a reread, and that is Abaddon's Gate by James S.A. Corey. That might be Abaddon, but I say Abaddon because, you know, I'm a heathen, maybe. I really love the Expanse series. I've read the first 5 in the series, and I stopped. I was reading them really quickly, almost one after another at first, and then I was making myself slow down because the series hadn't finished. And after reading book 5, I stopped entirely for a few years for, you know, a variety of reasons. There were other books on my shelves. I was prioritizing other things, reading slumps. But now I'm coming back to the series, and I reread the first 2 books last year, which was absolutely a fun time. And I'm going to start trying to read one of these a month up until I finish the series this year. That may be absolutely an unreasonable goal, and we'll see how well that happens. But I really want to get through at least all of the rereading so I can start the new books to me in the series and finish it out, because it's finally over and it's so sad. The next book I have is from my Christmas pile because I'm trying to consistently get through my Christmas pile because I've been really bad about that in the past, and that book is The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa. Yes, Yoko Ogawa. Again, I don't really know too much about this one. I've seen this pretty, not necessarily consistently, but I've seen it frequently on BookTube, and I've seen a lot of people talk about it, and I just don't remember anything anyone has to say about it or what it's about. It might be a little dystopian, a little horror, a little science fiction. I'm pretty sure I said that in the video where I hauled this. But I'm, like everything else in this pile, I'm really looking forward to getting around to this one this month. And and it's just got such a pretty cover. It's hard not to be excited about it. And the last book I'm going to be reading this month is, or hopefully reading this month, is This Thing Between Us by Gus Marino. This is my pick out of my pile for the Goodreads Best of Horror for 2021. This is probably my most anticipated out of this pile. I don't think I've set my expectations too high for this one. I've done that to myself in the past. I'm just really excited to read it, and I really just didn't want to wait any longer before I finally got around to this one. This one's gonna be sad. I can already tell that this is gonna make me cry and that this is gonna make me feel a lot of things. I know this has to do with a husband who has lost his wife or is in the process of losing his wife, and the world's falling apart, and I'm so looking forward to getting around to this one and being able to give you some, more full thoughts on everything that was in here. One of the things I do every month as well that I haven't talked about here before is I also use Libby quite liberally to pick up audiobooks from my library. So this isn't a full list of what I'll be getting around to because it's whatever holds might come in from Libby, whatever audiobooks that I find that I'm really interested in at the time I'll be listening to, especially in the first week of the month. My husband and I are going to be doing a tremendous amount of baking, and the days where we're not going to be doing it together and it's just me, I'm going to be listening to audiobooks quite a bit. So this list is, so at the end of March, the wrap up, you'll see probably a lot more books. You'll probably see quite a few audiobooks in there that I did not mention in this video, but I don't know what I'll be reading from that, so we'll just see how that goes. Okay, if you stuck around to the end of this, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic day, even though the world is really frightening right now. Also, Corgi! Yeah, don't drop the phone. Hello. Hello, hi.